This guy takes his hat off. Be respectful.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe no. I'd like to welcome everybody. Would like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting on this beautiful evening of Tuesday, September 17th. And I'd like everybody to rise and join Noah Epperson, who will lead us in invocation, and I'll lead the pledge.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful day. I hope we have a good day, and I hope you bless the people of our city, and I hope you just help all of us in this room. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call this meeting to order.
I'm the man here.
Please call the roll.
Director Holliday. Here. Director Jones.
Here.
Director Clark. Here. Director Weatherford.
Here.
Director Garcia. Director Foley.
Here.
Mayor McCabe.
Here. At this time, we'll consider approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions to the agenda or items to be removed from consent agenda to new business?
Mayor, I do have one item. It's an item that would, if the agenda is amended, we would move it to item number 12 in our new business. It would be Ordinance 01937, an ordinance amending Ordinance number 6293, authorizing an agreement with U.S. Bank National Association to provide short-term financing under Amendment 78 to the Constitution of Arkansas for the purchase and improvement of certain real property located at 324 Malvern Avenue, Hot Springs, Arkansas, declaring an emergency and for other purposes. So if the board is so inclined to add that to the agenda, that you would be doing so under the rules of your meetings, and you would need a motion to amend the agenda to so add.
So I would entertain a motion to amend to add ordinance 1939.
May I move that what he
said
said
37.
to the agenda?
So you'd amend the agenda to add that?
Amend it.
We got a second by Director Foley. All in favor of amending the agenda to include 1939, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is amended. Now I need to have I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Point of clarification, does that last amendment include the emergency clause as a part of that?
It does, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'll move the agenda be
Director
approved.
Clark,
Second.
Director Holliday, all in favor of the motion to approve the agenda as amended, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved. This time we'll consider approval of the minutes of September 3rd, 2019. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Director Jones.
Second.
Director Holliday, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Recognition of guests. We have two guests here, or two items with three guests here today. And first, I'll call upon Mr. Beard to come forward. The city has a proclamation they'd like to present to Mr. Beard. Proclamation of the City of Hot Springs, Arkansas. Remember the Lane Massacre's 100th anniversary. Where, Mr. Beard, please feel free to come forward. Whereas a series of racial attacks on African Americans across the nation led to what became known as the Red Summer of 1919, and one of the last major riots of Red Summer of 1919 is known as the Lane Race Riots. And whereas more than 200 black residents and 5 whites were murdered in what was the bloodiest racial attack in the state, and at that time the deadliest in American history. And whereas the City of Hot Springs recognizes 2019 as the 100th anniversary commemoration of the tragic era in Arkansas and American history, and whereas City of Hot Springs, along with the NAACP, encourage other municipalities across the state to make the centennial observation of the deadly riot, and whereas Through 100 years have passed, the NAACP and the City of Hot Springs affirms the importance of teaching this unfortunate chapter of American history in public schools and developing it into the curriculum so lessons can be learned and history not be repeated. And now, therefore, I, Pat McCabe, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, on behalf of the Board of Directors of the City of Hot Springs, do hereby proclaim September 30th, 2019 as a day of remembrance of the Elaine Massacre in Hot Springs, Arkansas. You witness wherever I hereunto have set my hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed on the 17th day of September in the year of our Lord, 2019.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The National Association of Advancement of Cult People, Unit 6013, appreciate the spirit and attitude of the City of Hot Springs to be a leader in this area in proclaiming what we have just proclaimed. For anyone who may have a question about why are we doing this in Hot Springs, Arkansas, when Elaine, Arkansas is in Phillips County, so far away from here. And if I may I relate to you something about our history that took place in this room, 1973 in January. Elmer Beard and Kenneth Adair cast the only two dissenting votes against a resolution to reinstate the death penalty. That happened here. I'm wondering would it happen today. But what we have done here tonight is saying that we won't be a model for the state, we won't be a model for racial progress in the state of Arkansas, and we disdain what happened in Elaine back at that time. I am very proud to say that as we disdain it, we also encourage others to take the same type of stand, the same effort in their government to do what we are doing here. We trust that that area will be enshrined later this month. I plan to travel to Phillips County to be a part of a museum that's being created there, and I'll be bragging and telling the truth on how proud I am in Hot Springs for us to have done what we just did. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next proclamation will be presented to Betty Ann Salzweevil and Diane Daniel for Constitution Week. Please come forward to the podium. Read a proclamation regarding Constitution Week, September 17th through the 23rd, 2019. Whereas the Constitution of the United States of America, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government in a republic dedicated to rule by law. And whereas September 17, 2019 marks the 232nd anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document in its memorable anniversary and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate it. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. And now, therefore, I, Pat McCabe, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, Arkansas, on behalf of the Board of Directors, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd, 2019 as Constitution Week in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and urge all citizens to study the Constitution, reflect on the privilege of being an American with all the rights and responsibilities which that privilege involves. And witness wherever I hear unto set my hand and cause the seal of the city to be affixed on the 17th day of September in the year of our Lord 2019.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. I just want to say thank you for honoring us today and through this next week. The Constitution is something that I think that we all should be more proud of, and it should be carried on. And thank the patriots that made this, for us. But thank you.
Thank you. This time we'll hear the City Manager's report from Mr. Bill Burrow. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Board. Mayor, several things to discuss tonight. Really a good report. Want to make the board aware, which many of you attended, but for those listening at home and in the audience, the city hosted the Ouachita River Valley Association September 5th and 6th. General Toy from the Mississippi Valley Division had several of his staff members here. He was not able to attend. However, Colonel Robert Hilliard with the Vicksburg, commander of the Vicksburg District, was here and spoke and also brought several of his staff members. In addition, we had a speaker from the Economic Development out of Little Rock, U.S. Congressman Bruce Westerman, Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin, and this was really a great opportunity for staff as well as myself to have some candid discussions with the Colonel and his staff regarding some of the projects we have going on with the Corps of Engineers Lakes, primarily Lake Ouachita. So very good meeting. We always look forward to hosting the Ouachita River Valley Association. I think this is our third convention here. It alternates every year between the city of Hot Springs and usually Monroe, Louisiana. And that's an organization that primarily focuses on the Ouachita River Valley. Other good news, we got our grant notice finally from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which approved $450,000 for 2019 community development block grants. Projects will include replacement of the bathroom at Linden Park, construction of an ADA accessibility ramp at the Habitat for Humanity's Restore, bus shelters at Ouachita Behavioral Health and Wellness, as well as on Hobson near Lacey Street. There are several sidewalk and ADA accessibility improvements on Linwood, Cedar, Arbor, and Park Avenues, as well as Malvern Avenue Gateway improvements. And one of the big ones that we heard quite a bit about recently, RA Cycle, Community Call, Care, and Compliance, their 4C lawn care services. This is lawn care services for qualifying elderly and disabled residents beginning next spring that may not be able to take care of some of their yards. So this is a great organization these two gentlemen have formed. They're taking several youth and teaching them how to give back to their community, as well as helping some of those that may not be able to take care of their yards. So really appreciative of those two gentlemen. In response to requests from riders, public transit advocacy groups, the Intracity Transit Department with the City of Hot Springs began the extended weekday hours this past Monday, September 16th. This, of course, affects our service on 3 of the fixed routes, as well as the paratransit for persons with disabilities. Paratransit has to assume the exact same hours as our fixed routes, so we're glad to offer that. That's been something that I know that Lance and the staff at Intercity Transit has been trying to bring together for quite some time. The new schedule adds 2 hours for weekday transit from Transportation Depot with final route times. 7:10 is the last departure from the depot, and its last return is 8 p.m. Saturday service will not be affected at this time. It's still 10:10 a.m. is their last departure, and 6 p.m. is their last time back in. Finally, we've got a burn ban. Fire Department issued a burn ban on September the 12th. We've had several calls regarding that. Garland County issued their burn ban yesterday, September the 16th. So right now the entire county is under a burn ban, and we want to make all of our residents and community aware of that. Mayor, I have nothing else to report.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. Fine report. This time we'll hear from directors' announcements regarding upcoming events. Any director have an upcoming event they'd like the public to be aware of? Director Weatherford.
I got 2. First one is Thursday, September the 19th, from 11 till 2. Central Baptist Church is doing an event called Honoring the Badge and feeding all first responders for lunch, whether it's state police, city police, sheriff's department, fire department, whatever it is. 11 to 2, no charge. And I'm cooking all the pork butts. So the other one is Friday, October the 11th. It's the 5th annual Daniel Johnson Memorial Fire in the Hole Golf Tournament. This is in memory of Daniel Johnson on Smoking in Style. And all the proceeds go to benefit needy Hot Springs families at Christmas. So we're looking for whole sponsors and teams and individuals to play. If you're interested, you can call Jake Duplantis at 501-295-2413. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any, Director Holliday?
You guys have heard this a couple times before, but a last shout out. Next week, September 26th, is the second annual Barn Bash at, where is it? You gotta love Facebook. Crystal Ridge Distillery. It will be from 6 to 8:30. It's to support ADA accessible playground equipment at Watkins Park. So it's a partnership between the Civitans and Park Avenue Community Association, and all the funds raised will come to the City Parks Department to purchase ADA accessible equipment.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm looking at Director Selman. On Wednesday is the Tom Daniels Memorial. The room will be dedicated at the A&P Commission at Visit Hot Springs, rather. The time is
4:30.
4:30. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good. This completes the announcements, so thank you very much. The consent agenda has about 6 items on it. They tend to be of routine nature and do not warrant discussion. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Director Clark, Director Weatherford, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is adopted. We've got 6 action items here this evening, including the ordinance which we added to the agenda earlier today. At this time, we'll consider consider Resolution R-19-150 and ask the City Attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-19-150, a resolution condemning certain real property pursuant to ordinance number 6069, 244 Silver, parcel ID 53864. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Weatherford, Director Jones. And Mr. Scott, he delayed getting up out of the chair because 2 weeks ago he got up real quick and then I jumped ahead.
I was a little
so he was
excited to
sitting
do
back.
my thing then, so that's what it was. I was just
Mr. Scott, the Chief Building Inspector, will provide the staff report.
Thank you. Board of Directors, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for hearing my request tonight. 244 Silver Street, all of the notices have been properly completed to all the owners. The owner on this one is Mildred Counts. She has pulled a permit back in 2016 with no work performed, so the permit has expired out. We've made many attempts to try to get her to fix the property. Citations have been issued with fines. This structure here, the roof has a large hole in it, and the floor is collapsing, as you can see on my pictures that I have. There we go.
Okay.
This is one when you drive by, it looks good till you go around back. The back of it's missing.
Oh.
So. This is about
Any questions of Mr. Scott?
This is about a block and a half from Langston School. It's wide open. So.
It tore down.
We have anybody sign up?
No, sir.
No.
Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to Resolution R-19-150, condemning certain real property at 244 Silver? 244 Silver. There's none, Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion amongst directors? Please call the roll.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Clark. Aye. Weatherford.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. This time we'll consider Resolution R-19-151 and ask City Attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-19-151, a resolution condemning certain real property pursuant to ordinance number 6069, 331 Cooper, parcel ID 44991. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Clark. Director Weatherford. Mr. Scott will continue with a staff report.
331 Cooper, all the proper notices have been completed. This property is owned by Blair Petty. He owns 5 houses on these 2 adjacent properties, and only one of them is occupied. The others are boarded up due to different reasons. Foundation, floor, and roof all are rotten. This has a wood foundation, not even a rock or block foundation, so it is collapsing, and the house is collapsing.
Any questions of Mr. Scott? Thank you.
Anyone here to speak in opposition to Resolution R-19-151 condemning certain real property at 331 Cooper? 331 Cooper. There is none, Mayor.
Thank you. Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Jones. Aye.
Clark. Aye. Weatherford.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Holliday. Aye. McCabe.
Aye. Resolution's adopted. We'll consider Resolution R-19-152 and ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-19-152, a resolution condemning certain real property pursuant to ordinance number 6069-214 Wall, parcel ID 38602. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Foley,
Second.
Director Holliday. Mr. Scott will provide the staff report.
214 Wall. All the proper notices have been completed. This is owned by Martin Brothers Riding Stables. Mr. Martin owns 7 properties in the city of Hot Springs. All are in pretty sad shape. He has had citations and fines on this property. The roof leaks and the wood is rotten in the floor. It has holes. The ceiling is collapsing in some of the places.
Any questions of Mr. Scott?
Anyone here to speak in opposition to Resolution R-19-152 condemning certain real property at 214 Wall? 214 Wall. There is none, Mayor.
Please call the roll.
Clark. Aye. Weatherford.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Holliday. Aye. Jones.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye. Resolution's adopted. We'll consider Resolution R-19-153 and ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-19-153, a resolution condemning certain real property pursuant to ordinance number 6069-408 Charter Oak, parcel ID 50240. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Clark, Director Holliday, Mr. Scott.
408 Charter Oak, all the proper notices have been completed. This is also owned by Martin Brothers Racing Stables. There are 4 structures on this parcel, and he also owns the one previous 214 Wall. 3 of them are boarded up, and this one was in a fire, as you can see. Work has started with no permit. He came down last Thursday and pulled a permit. The structure needs everything except the foundation. Has no wiring, no plumbing, no heat and air. You can see a lot of the wood's burnt out of it, no roof on it. So.
Any questions of Mr. Scott?
So, Mr. Scott, despite the fact that he's pulled a permit last week, you would like the board to go ahead and consider the resolution condemning the property so that if work is not completed, you can move forward with demolition?
Correct. The work he's done, we caught him doing without a permit. It was something he did in one day. And the structure burnt about 2 months ago, so he's not moving forward with it very quickly.
And the other 3 structures that you said were boarded, are they secure?
They're boarded and secured improperly according to our ordinance, but they are boarded and secured.
You're not seeking demolition of those?
No, sir.
Anyone to speak in opposition of Resolution R-19-153 condemning certain real property at 408 Charter Oak? 408 Charter Oak. There is none, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Folly.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones. Clark.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution's adopted. We'll consider Resolution R-19-154 and ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-19-154, a resolution authorizing an energy services agreement between Scenic Hill Solar LLC and the City of Hot Springs and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor.
Motion to adopt.
So move.
Director Weatherford.
Second.
Director Foley. And Mr. Bill Burrow will provide the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Staff recommends awarding or approving a resolution authorizing an energy service agreement between Scenic Hill Solar 10 LLC and the City of Hot Springs. Excuse me. Scenic Hill Solar provides options for clean electricity generation through the installation and operation of solar power facilities. The City of Hot Springs favors exploration of cleaner solar-based energy options and the reduction of our current energy prices. The recently passed Act 464 in the 2019 Arkansas General Assembly, along with tax advantages, have made solar power one of the cheapest ways to purchase electricity for local governments and for educational institutions. The City of Hot Springs issued a statement of qualifications with a closing date of February 15, 2019. There were 8 respondents, and following the rating and ranking, Scenic Hill Solar was selected as the highest rated firm, and negotiations began soon after for this particular project. And we finally came to an agreement that was acceptable to both parties. Scenic Hill Solar and the City of Hot Springs has arrived at an agreement whereby the City of Hot Springs will designate city-owned property as the location for construction of solar-powered electric generating facility by Scenic Solar Hill. Solar Hill will design, construct, operate, own, and maintain the facility at no cost to the city while it provides power under this agreement. Construction of the solar facility is expected to be complete within 1 calendar year. The City of Hot Springs will purchase all the power produced by this facility over the next 28 years. Could be additional. There are 2 two-year extensions to that particular agreement. Under the agreement, the city also has the option to purchase the facility beginning with year 6. The City of Hot Springs will lock in energy purchase prices for the energy services agreement with Scenic Hill Solar's power facilities at a rate of 0.059 cents per kilowatt hour in year 1, and it moves up on a 1% escalation, and by year 28, it's at 0.0772. The overall system will be a 12.75 megawatt DC solar array. City facilities will continue to be tied to the existing power grid owned and operated by Entergy Arkansas, thus providing a redundancy and backup should any issues with our solar power system take place. A note, the city uses approximately 19,700,000 kilowatt hours in an annual. That's what we used in 2018. That's been pretty consistent over the course of time. An energy services or power purchase agreement is a financial arrangement in which a third-party developer, in this case Scenic Hill Solar, they own, operate, and maintain the system, and a host customer, such as the City of Hot Springs, agrees to site the system on its property and purchase the system's electric output from the solar services provider for a predetermined period. In this case, that's 28 years. This financial agreement allows the host customer to receive stable and often low-cost electricity, while the solar services provider or another party acquires financial benefits such as tax credits and income generated from the sale of electricity. Act 464 really opened the door for us to be able to entertain this type of agreement. There's a 30% tax credit that we would not be eligible for. However, working with a third party, we are able to gain some of those benefits with the lower cost of electricity. That has a scale down effective January 1st of 2020. That credit drops to 26% and continues to fall from that point forward. So we wanted to be sure and get this in front of the board as soon as we were able to after we'd come to an agreement. We think this is a good agreement. We foresee this saving the city millions of dollars over the next 28 years. If our assumptions are correct, that should be in the neighborhood of $40 million. So we're really pleased to present this to the board and be glad to answer any questions that you may have. Mr. Halter is here in the audience tonight if you have any specific questions for him as well.
Any questions of Mr. Burrow? Oh, excuse me. Do we have anybody signed up to speak on this issue? No. Any questions of City Manager? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Foley,
Aye.
Holliday. Aye. Jones.
Aye.
Clark. Aye. Weatherford.
Aye.
McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. Our final board action item of the evening is to consider Ordinance 01939. And before we can proceed, I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title.
So move.
Second.
A motion and a second to suspend the rules. All in favor of the motion to suspend the rules and read by title signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is approved. Read by title.
Ordinance 01939, an ordinance amending ordinance number 6293, authorizing an agreement with U.S. Bank National Association to provide short-term financing under Amendment 78 to the Arkansas Constitution for the purchase and improvement of certain real property located at 324 Malvern Avenue, Hot Springs, Arkansas, declaring an emergency and for other purposes. That concludes your reading there. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Jones, Director Weatherford.
Mayor, I'll address this. At the board's last business meeting held September 3rd of this year, the board adopted ordinance number 6293, which authorized this financing, but the payment structure under that particular ordinance set forth 60 monthly equal installments of principal and interest. After the board authorized the agreement to go with U.S. Bank, once we started negotiating the loan documents, it was offered to us that we would be able to set this up with an annual payment of principal, semi-annual payment of interest. The reason that it was different this time is the first go-around we used U.S. Bank, it was for vehicles. It was really more of a leasing program, and so that's why they had it set up on 60 months, and that's why it was brought to you in that form 2 weeks ago. So the adoption of this ordinance would merely amend that previous ordinance number 6293 by replacing the payment installments as annual with the semi-annual interest. Be happy to answer any questions. Finance Director Doretha Yates is here as well.
Any questions of Mr. Albright? Since this was added to the agenda, was there any member of the audience would like to come forward and speak on this issue? Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Holliday,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Weatherford,
Aye.
Folly,
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted.
Mayor, this ordinance does contain an emergency clause, which is found in Section 8. I'll read it in its entirety. Section 8, Emergency Clause. The Board of Directors hereby determines that the instigation and completion of the projects here and above set forth are essential to the public health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the city and must be financed as quickly as possible. An emergency, therefore, is declared to exist, and this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after the date of its execution. That concludes the reading of the emergency clause. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Director Clark, Director Foley. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Emergency clause is adopted. This time we'll have a board commentary. Are there any items that the board members would like to discuss, bring up? A shout out to the fire department. This past weekend, we had one of our firefighters run the tower to tunnel in full gear apparatus. They always seem to have one that will do that, and he ran past Hotel Hell, had a pretty good clip. Granted, you know, there were many people that ran past him, but they weren't carrying any weight. So it's always nice to see our firefighters, and they're really able to perform when they have to, and that's tough to run the mountain downhill in apparatus and finish strong. So anybody else have an item that you'd like to bring up?
No, I just saw you say something to him. I don't know what it was.
We had the other thing we had the other day, Mr. Burrows, is we hosted, the community hosted the aviation operators of Arkansas. It's not their official title, but
Yeah.
we had more FAA officials here. We had the acting director of the Southwest region. We had a regional administrator of the FAA and chief compliance officer of the FAA. We welcomed them. They're our partners.
That's right.
And they were in good spirits. And I asked them when was the last time they were here, and they said about 20 years ago. And so I said, you've seen a little difference in our town in the past 20 years, and they acknowledged that. So we appreciated them and the educational opportunities that they brought forward to all the airport managers across the state. So, excellent.
You know, Mayor, having these groups come to Hot Springs is certainly a financial benefit to us, but I don't know that you could put a price on the time that we're able to spend with some of these federal regulators on a one-on-one basis. It really helps us as we try to move that needle and try to get projects through when they're able to put a face with a name. So we appreciate them coming to Hot Springs, and I know Glenn worked very close with the FAA director while he was here. So we appreciate that. Same with our Corps of Engineers. We enjoy them coming to town, and it's just a pleasure to be able to get to know them and work with them on a little bit different atmosphere than what we have when we're either at headquarters or even in the Vicksburg district. So there's many benefits to them coming to town.
Glenn Barentine, again, our airport manager, he provided an educational program about a month or so ago to the Hot Springs Metro Partnership Board. He talked about the industry of aviation, economic impact of aviation throughout the state. You know, we have a large footprint of aviation concerns here locally, but, you know, I was really impressed with the volume of aviation and the economic impact that has. Most of us, when it comes to aviation, we buy a ticket and we fly somewhere, and that's our connection oftentimes, and there's a lot more going on in Arkansas. So when you have the FAA acting director, deputy director of the FAA here in town, and you can see our community. And as you said, Bill, when you have a face-to-face and they're in your community and you're striving to do things and they see the vibrant downtown and they see what we're all trying to do, you know, they're not going to do anything they can't do. But at the same time, you're going to get a good listen. Yep. And I think those relationships is what we're talking about, is building relationships. So it allowed all the airport managers, while the conference was located here, it allowed all the airport managers to rub elbows and have discussion with these top officials they have to deal with through letters or by phone calls. So that concludes my report. Anybody else?
No, but I must say you almost broke your record, but you went over 7 minutes. And since you've done that, may I make a motion that we adjourn for the night? Mayor.
We have a motion. We have a second by Director Foley.
Oh.
So,
I came up here to speak on behalf of Edgar County's property that she owns at, what's the address?
Well, you need to talk to Mike Scott.
please come forward.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Vance Counts. I'm Mildred Counts' son. My mom's been having a hard time with that property. She's been having a hard time, period. And the reason I'm here to speak to you tonight is because my mom was a housewife and mother for all of my life. So she don't get a couple of $1,000s a month for retirement or stuff like that. She get $475 a month for Social Security. She has a property that belonged to my baby brother who passed on 4 years ago. Since that time, well, let me back up. When he passed, there was no one staying in the house. It was boarded up according to city policy. But the house was vandalized very badly. And she was given the task to bring the house up to code or forfeit the house. So I myself have been doing a lot of work on the house. On a scale from 1 to 100%, I've done about 80% of what was asked to do. And I'm not doing this on her finances. I'm doing it on mine. I work for Street Division. Been there almost 20 years. I still don't make enough to take care of my house, my bills, and renovate her home and help her also. And one of the main reasons I'm up here standing in front of you is because I talked to Miss Patty Alford about a month ago. And I told her my mom has been diagnosed with cancer. I'm going to need some consideration on working on the house because she has one pill that costs $475. I barely make $16 an hour. But I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make it all work. I've done 40 hours of community service for my mom because she's not able to go out there and do the community service where Miss Patty Alford had her find over this house. That I've been working on constantly. I have never stopped working on the house. But because I'm not doing things in a manner fast enough for her or whoever it is that needs to know about it, make an 87-year-old lady do community service. I did it for her. I asked the judge if it's okay, can I please do it? And he said yes, and I did it. And I have been working on it ever since then. I have never stopped working on it. I talked to Ms. Alford last month, and I told her that my mom had cancer. And I was off from work about 2 weeks last month with her out at St. Joseph's. And I thought I had an agreement with her that she would give me consideration, considering that I'm not rich. I'm just a son that cares. And I thought that we had an agreement that I'm going to have to back off of the house for a little while because I got to get this medicine for my mama. And as soon as she hung up that phone with me, she put in an order for condemnation. And it was dirty, it was treacherous, and it was underhanded. Because I'm a man that you can tell me what you say, what you think, and I'll take you face value at what you tell me. If you tell me you can do something, then I expect you to do that. And I respect you even more if you tell me you can't do it. At least I asked, and I got an honest answer. I can take that. But my mom is not able to do anything for herself. Everything that she gets done, she's getting done by other people doing it for her.
Well, we certainly feel for your mother's health condition. The action was taken on this a little bit earlier this evening.
I understand that.
Yeah,
my mom called me about it.
And the House did not get to the state overnight. It
didn't. It really didn't.
Right.
It got to the state a few years back.
Yeah.
When it was vandalized.
So one of the things, one of the beauties with our program is while we did take action tonight, and to the degree that you continue to work on it and work with Mr. Scott on keeping him informed of your improvements in your timetable, he has latitude as he sees progress, because it's a 30-day period. It's 30 days from today. There would be no action taken.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
For the next 30 days. So to the degree that you're making progress and if he's able to see evidence of that to the point where, public safety and health is not compromised,
I understand
then
that.
he has certain latitudes there, and we've done this many a time. Mm-hmm. But it's there for him to also have available should there just be no progress made, no great effort.
There's never been one time that there wasn't progress made.
Well,
every time
I understand progress, and then I understand meaningful progress. So there's I think what he's looking for and what the city's looking for and the board is, meaningful progress where there's some ability to ensure that there's an end in sight. And I understand that maybe some of these, I don't know the state and to the degree that the resource requirements, but you have 30 days.
I mean,
and he's not an unreasonable man. So
And I understand that, sir, and I understand about the code. Okay, I do a lot more work for the city of Hot Springs, in the city of Hot Springs, than just what it looks like. But what I'm saying is, I'm using money that comes from me. Okay, and this is my baby brother's house, and my mom is trying to hold on to it. I'm doing mostly all of the work myself that they don't tell me I have to have an electrician or a plumber or somebody with a business to do. Okay? I can close the house up. I can close it up. I can close it in and make it secure. However, I don't have the funds or the resources to totally remodel a house in a few months. I mean, like I said, I got this going on with her medicines and everything. And on top of that, she's getting a fine like every 2 or 3 months for $1,000, $600, $350. I can't buy materials and pay fines and fix the house. I'm just being real.
no.
All
I can do right now is recommend that
either.
you spend a considerable amount of time with Mr. Scott and review your action plan and have him acknowledge it, sign off on it.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you
for your time. Appreciate
you.
everyone.
Good luck to you.
We did have a motion and a second to adjourn.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Drive safely on your way home.